2010 now, and Ronal Gasser has been behind bars since he was arrested in December of 2016 after admitting to shooting NFL player Joe McKnight. Today, his trial on a second-degree murder charge is beginning.
Originally, Gasser was arrested for manslaughter 4 days after the apparent road rage incident happened. Gasser claims that former NFL star Joe McKnight cut him off in traffic and the two exchanged words. Gasser claims he shot McKnight in self-defense. And joining us now to talk about the possibilities involved in this trial, we're very happy to have the legal analyst for WWL here with us, Pauline Harden. So try to break this down for us. The prosecution is trying to prove second-degree murder. What does it have to show in this case?
The prosecution has to prove that Mr. Gasser acted with specific intent to kill Mr. McKnight. That's their burden of proof.
And we know this is a very complicated case because it was supposed to happen in November. Both sides wanted to delay. You say because there's so many different elements going on here. What are some of those?
Well, the defense is going to be self-defense, and so you can see a very different scenario as far as the facts are concerned lining up. And so the prosecution is going to have to show specific intent, and that is going to have to be done through a lot of circumstantial evidence. And so, you know, there's going to be the statements of Mr. Gasser that he made to the police, any witnesses, the autopsy reports and forensics. That will be complicated. And then from Mr. Gasser's perspective, he's going to have to try to convince the jury of his subjective belief at the time that he was in fear for his life. And so that's going to take quite a bit of evidence too to demonstrate that.
Does it have any weight that Mr. McKnight was not armed?
Absolutely. The fact that he was not armed shows that Mr. Gasser was wrong in his belief that he was, you know, subject to bodily harm. And so that will be a big point of it. The opposite perspective would be that Mr. McKnight is a big physical guy, and so Mr. Gasser will probably claim that just by virtue of the fact of how big Mr. McKnight is, that put him in fear for his life.
And the judge has already ruled that prosecutors will be allowed to use Gasser's background, which involves a road rage incident from over a decade ago, in this case. How do you think that will play out here?
I think that that's a really powerful piece of evidence for the prosecution, because Mr. Gasser's faced this type of situation before and made a mistake. He apparently punched this fellow at the end of this road rage incident previously, and that was, you know, completely over the top. And so you have a second incident of the same type of situation where now somebody is dead and that person didn't have a gun, never laid a hand on Gasser.
So what do you expect, and we're in the jury selection stage, what will both sides be looking for?
Gasser is going to look for someone who is like him or who is sympathetic to his side, and of course the state will be looking for the opposite. But I'm sure that Gasser will not want people who are, you know, big, burly, physical kinds of guys who have sons like that, because they will say, well, I'm not a threat just because of my size. And so Gasser will not want people like that. I think he'd probably want people who are gun enthusiasts, who think that if you're in your car, you have a right to defend yourself, and would have a gun in the car and see no problem with that.
All right. Well, if he is found guilty, he is facing a chance of life without parole.
Right, without parole.
Well, we'll be following this case, and thank you so much, Pauline Harden, for joining us.
Thank you.